Welcome back to another episode of Too Much Pod Tar. I'm your host, Alex Kielar, as always. For this episode, I'll be joined by frequent guest Johnnie Black and also Sam Schneider as he makes his second appearance. This episode, we're going to be discussing the season predictions for the National League. The AL prediction show is up, which was about a week ago, went up, and it's available on all podcast platforms. Featured both all three of myself, Johnny, and Soupy. Yeah, so how's everyone doing today?
Pretty good, man. Can't complain. One more week from tomorrow. For baseball. Actual baseball.
Yeah, I'm excited. The Yankees enact the first game, and that's going to be Cole against Scherzer. So that's going to be a good one. A really good one.
Yeah. I kind of like the short spring training, man. The season just snuck right up, and boom, here it is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, so if you guys want to just plug your social medias just to let everybody know where to find you on whatever, Twitter and stuff.
Yeah, check us out at the Scarecrow. Well, we'll be moving over to, as we're merging with Primetime Sports Talk over there, but I can be found on Twitter at jball0202, and I'm on Facebook too and stuff. And yeah, that's about it. Follow us for a lot of baseball stuff this year, and a couple fantasy leagues, NFBC, and I just wanted to plug to my boys over at the Fantasy Gospel. Check them out at the Fantasy Gospel on Twitter. They started up a couple fantasy leagues. We're actually drafting Saturday evening. They got 3 roto leagues going, 15-team leagues. So I'm in that. I'm actually with one of our boys, Joey, who was supposed to be on tonight, but he's in my league, actually, the Fantasy Gospel League. So it should be pretty cool. So we'll be tweeting about that too.
Awesome. That'll be fun to follow along with. This is, you can reach me, obviously, as part of the Scarecrow and Primetime Sports Talk as well. My individual account on Twitter is at buy and sell you, all one word, no underscores, no nothing. Man, I'm just switching gears right now. I feel like I've been on football a lot for the last few weeks, and then just like I said a minute ago, all of a sudden, boom, it's time for baseball, and I'm scrambling around like, oh, here we go, it's time.
Yeah, can't believe it's already coming. Hopefully it sticks. We don't have to, have another lockdown or whatever. So I guess we'll just jump right into it. We'll start out with the MVP prediction for this one. I'll start off. My MVP is going to be Ronald Acuna Jr. of the Braves. Last year he had a really good season. He's up at the top of the MVP favorites right now. I think he probably is the favorite at the moment. He's up there with obviously Bellinger as always and Yelich. Both of those guys are always in there. So I think Acuna in a short season is going to be able to tear it up and go crazy. In the regular season, he would, in a normal 1 in 62 games, I think he was going to end up getting 40-40. But, this year with the 60 games, so obviously not going to get close to that, but he's still going to be up at the top of the leaderboard of probably a lot of categories. So definitely going to be exciting to watch. And that Braves team is pretty stacked right now. They just got Puig yesterday. So, 2 days ago when this comes out. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting to see if they can actually not choke in the playoffs, get deeper into the playoffs this time around. So,
yeah, for me, I'll go with one of the guys you mentioned. I'm going to go with Christian Yelich. On a short season like this, I look at Christian as a guy that rarely has had trouble getting out of the gate quickly. And when he goes on a hot streak, he goes on a really hot streak. So I think if he starts popping off, from the beginning, like I said, right out of the gate, I think he's just going to maintain that position for the rest of the season. And, frankly, in a 60-game season, obviously, I don't know, this could be a real award without an asterisk next to it. But if he does that kind of thing, then he's got a possibility of looking at sniffing the Triple Crown in a short season.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue that with Yelich. I mean, Triple Crown is definitely a possibility. He was pretty close to it 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He wasn't far off. I think he was like third in ribbies, third in home runs, and first in average or something like that. Like, he was pretty close in all three. So it wouldn't surprise me. I'm going to go with my pick is Bryce Harper. I think last year, new team, big contract. He doesn't seem like the type of guy that lets that bother him too much, but it's got to get in your head. These guys are human beings. It gets in your head a little bit. And people forget. I mean, a lot of people like, oh, Harper's not worth the money, blah, blah, blah. People forget he had an 882 OPS last year with 35 home runs and 15 stolen bases and 114 ribbies. I mean, it's not like the guy is crap. The guy's still, I mean, he's 4 years removed from an MVP. So I think settling in a little bit after his first year in, with his new contract and everything like that, with his teammates and stuff like that, I think he's really going to settle in this year, and I think he's going to come out of the gates real hot. And we know Harper's got the talent. I mean, the kid's only 26 years old still. He's got the talent to put together a 60-game stretch. So he could hit 20, 25 home runs. So I'm going to go with Harper. I think he puts it together this year, and I think he's got that kind of like monkey off his back that first year with the new contract, blah, 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 blah. And I think he puts it together, comes out strong.
Oh, yeah, I can't argue that one either. That was one of my candidates for probably up there in the top 5, at least for me. So he's, like you said, I think he'll definitely bounce back this year in his second year now in Philly. Just we'll get to this a little bit later for comeback play of the year, but like the same thing I think of with Machado out in San Diego, because he's in his second year of the contract now, so I think he'll perform better as well. So.
A lot of guys do that. I mean, it's just a new city. It's a new atmosphere, new teammates. I mean, especially if you've been with a team for a few years. Like Harper was drafted first overall by the Nationals. He came up through the national system. Like, he was there and everything. And then he signs with the Philly. Look at what I called a couple of years ago when Carlos Santana, who came up with the Indians and everything like that. Like, that's the only team he knew. He went to Philly and didn't do well. As soon as he went back to Cleveland, he had like a career year last year. I mean, it's familiarity. It's like, like I said, you got to realize the guy's a human.
Right.
When they spend, granted this year is a 60-game season, but they spend 7-8 months out of the year with the same guys. Like, a feeling of comfort, a feeling of familiarity with the guys you're playing with and stuff like that. When work is fun, granted, we'd all love to be able to play baseball as a job, but I'm just saying, when you have to go to work, when it's fun, you don't mind going. It's that little bit extra mentally that I think adds to it. And I think, like I said about Harper, I think he's over that now. He's made friends there last year. He was kind of new. He was the big name guy. I think he just settles in. Same thing like you said about Machado. I think he settles in this year.
Yeah, and just because you've got, tens of thousands of fans, freaking out that they got you, as Philly did they gave him a hero's welcome when he came in. That doesn't automatically mean that all of a sudden you're in some sort of comfort zone and that you're really settled in. So I agree with what you said. Now that he's had a little more time to acclimate himself to some of his teammates for a season, and even little things off the field. Now you know your way a little bit more around the city. Now you're more comfortable in your own skin. You don't feel so put upon, like, wow, they're expecting me to be the second coming when I show up. You need a little bit of that to relax you in order to do the best you can.
I don't know if you guys had any dark horse candidates that you thought of, but I think one of mine was going to be Tatis. Speaking of San Diego, Ferdinand Tatis Jr. He was last year at the end of the year. He got hurt, of course, and then didn't end up finishing the year. And I think he would have given Pete Alonso a bit of run for his money. I think Alonso still would have won Rookie of the Year, but I think it would have been a closer match, closer voting if he was able to finish the year, because he was on a tear there, and I think this year he's going to even break out even more in 60 games, be able to do his thing there for staying healthy. So, yeah, he's one of my dark horse picks for the MVP.
Yeah, he was inhuman for a long time there. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think he didn't even start on the opening day roster. I mean, they didn't wait long before they brought him up. I think, correct me if I'm wrong here. They didn't wait long before they brought him up, but, Alonso started from the beginning, and still at one point, like you, Alex, I was looking at it like, man, I think if Tatis keeps up this pace, then he's probably going to be the guy.
Yeah.
For me, I suppose it's a dark horse. I mean, if you're talking about the MVP, then it's pretty hard to call somebody a dark horse at all. So I think it's got to be Juan Soto from Washington. The guy is still just absolutely killing the ball in all parts of the zone, and he's still on an upward trajectory and has the ability to make even the best pitchers look really bad out there sometimes. And he's fun to watch too. So he's one of those guys you'd love to see win it, just because he's such an exciting player and fun-loving and whatnot. But you look at his stats, and he can certainly do it. I think there's definitely one in his future. I don't know if it's this year over 60 games, but I would definitely put him down as my dark horse.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with my dark horse guy is gonna be, like you said, Sam. Like, it's hard to kind of say a dark horse because you can't pick someone really that's totally out of it. But I think my dark horse might be Trey Turner of Washington.
Mm-hmm.
He steals bags. He's got some pop. He's banged up a little bit here and there, but I think with Rendon gone, I think maybe he might, Harper's was gone last year. Rendon's gone this year. I think maybe he might feel like he's the guy to take over this team and kind of be that leader with Soto and Robles and stuff like that as far as the offensive side of the ball. And, I agree with you with Tatis, especially playing the shortstop position. Mm-hmm. You always get a little of a bump playing a more demanding position, a more important position than first base. So I think Trey Turner would be my dark horse. I think if he can come out of the gate, especially the way he runs, if he could show a little power and hit a solid like 300, 320, I think he could do it.
Yeah, I could definitely see that too. Let's move on to Cy Young now. So I know, Sam, you want to start off with this one?
Yeah, sure. When I was looking at considering the Cy Young stuff, I was really thinking about in a short season like this, in divisions and who some of your opponents are. And obviously, when you're playing a bunch of in-division games, I'm not saying that it's easy to beat your division rivals and whoever's in your matched up division on the other side. But I'm going to roll with Walker Buehler on this one. The guy last year had 16 quality starts out of 20. Still almost had an ERA sub 2. He can strike out pretty much anybody. He's got the occasional start where he just blows up, but I guess which pitcher doesn't have the occasional one? And he's still young, and I think that's going to play into it a little bit too. He's going to have a lot of stamina coming into this little sprint that we're about to do, and I don't think he's going to have any problem rolling out there every time his number's called. You take that into consideration, the fact that he'll probably get to beat up on the likes of the Giants, maybe the Rockies a couple times, and I think and the Dodgers just have so much offense behind their pitchers that he doesn't even have to match a 2.13 ERA again to be winning games regardless. So I look for Buehler to win the Cy Young, and Unlike DeGrom, who's won it a couple years in a row without having a very impressive record because they can't put up, can't put runs up on the board behind him. I think Buehler wins the Cy Young, and I also think he has the most wins in the National League.
Yeah, that's actually the same one I had for the Cy Young, and I agree with everything you said. Yeah, just that with all the offense he has behind him, he'll be able to just do his thing and pitch his game. I saw yesterday he's not fully ramped up yet to like where he's going to be able to pitch in the first round. I mean, the first turnaround in the rotation. But I think once he does get like ramped up, he's able to pitch the full game. He's definitely going to just put on the gas, turn the gas on, and just rev it up and go for whatever amount of starts he has for the 60 games. But yeah, definitely see him being there and winning that Cy Young for Dodgers.
Yeah, and if he does have, more close games than I'm expecting him to, then it's going to fall squarely on the bullpen to keep those leads for him.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm going to go with I'm going to make Sam happy here as a Reds fan because I'm going to go with Luis Castillo.
All right,
as my Cy Young. I think he's improved each of the last 2 years. Last year, 3.4 ERA, but he averaged almost 6 innings a start last year. 32 starts. I think he had 191 innings or something like that. He's coming into his own now. At this point, he's become the ace of the staff. I know they have Sonny Gray and I know they have Trevor Bauer, but Castillo's the man there. Mm-hmm. And we talk about run support. The Reds got power to spare in that lineup, especially with Castellanos there for this whole season. Moustakas there playing second. You even threw Didi at short. You still have Eugenio Suarez. Votto's not the power hitter he once was, but the dude still could put up a 400 on base percentage. I mean, who knows what Aquino will be with the DH, Winker. You got a bunch of guys that can put the ball out of the park easily. Probably up and down the lineup, probably the most power in the NL, maybe aside from the Dodgers. But talk about run support, I think Castillo could definitely win 7-8 games in 12 starts. Mm-hmm. And I think that'll be enough. If he can keep his ERA under 3 and strike out, 10 to 11 per 9, he's definitely got a shot.
He's a knee buckler for sure. He's definitely a knee buckler. It's fun to watch.
Oh, his stuff is unbelievable. His stuff is great.
Oh yeah.
He's got to have the control. That's all. He can't walk everybody and get into trouble, because when he does, then his starts are limited because he throws all these pitches and blah blah blah. It's like a lot of young guys, but I think he started correcting that last year. And I think he's just going to take another step forward this year. And I think in a shortened season, I think he can string together 10, 12 starts that are really dominant. He's got the dominant stuff. If he could string together those starts and avoid – see, this is going to be the thing like we talked about what you said, Sam, before with Buehler. Once in a while he gets blown up. It's going to be the starter that avoids that one blow-up, because that one blow-up, when you're only starting 12 games, that one blow-up is going to – kill you.
Truth.
It's almost like a reliever. A reliever pitches 1 inning at a time, or 1 1/3, or 1 2/3, or whatever it may be. They come in the one game, and all of a sudden they give up 5 runs in a third of an inning. That kills the ERA for a month. Yeah. A starter in a shortened season, a starter can't do that. So it's going to be the starter that's consistently good, that has a great run of 10 to 12 starts, that doesn't have that one game where they throw 2 innings and give up 8 runs, because that's just going to destroy your season as far as Cy Young, awards go. So I just think Castillo is going to be more consistent this year. I think his control has improved. And like I said, he's got the stuff. I think he can string together the 12 starts that he could just be dominant.
Yeah. Let's go into dark horse picks for the Cy Young. My dark horse is going to be Max Fried from the Braves. last year he kind of had an up and down season for his first full year, but he still had a pretty productive season. It was a 4.02 ERA, and he got a 3 WAR, but his xFIP was also 3.32, so that shows that he can definitely if he has some better defense there, he'll put up a better ERA as well. So, and his strikeout rate was also 9.4 per 9, so definitely strikes a lot of guys out. I think he'll take another step forward this year and be one of the main guys for the Braves rotation. Probably 1 or 2 in that rotation. He's also still pretty young. He's only 26, so he's got a lot to still work on. But I think he'll definitely take a step forward this year.
Yeah, I get my dark horse is Jack Flaherty from St. Louis, and a lot of things need to happen, obviously, for that to happen. I mean, that's a pretty long shot, but Flaherty he keeps the ERA down. I know he only went 11-8 last year, but he had a 2.75 ERA. He has the ability to run an ERA down even closer to the 2.0 line, and I'm not a big fan because, frankly, I don't like the Cardinals very much. But he's pretty interesting to watch because for a guy his age, he's extremely deft at mixing up his pitches. He's some of his pitches, his secondary ones aren't exactly the most fine-tuned yet, and they'll probably get there, as the years go on, or when something just clicks. But he mixes it up, and you can have watched baseball for a long time, and he's one of those pitchers where when you think you know what's coming on 3-1, he'll completely fool you and throw something that you would have never expected. And I think that's something like that is kind of missing in the game and has been for a couple years. Is it's the age-old, well, this is always the kind of pitch that's going to come on this kind of count, and Flaherty doesn't seem to do that nearly as often. So I've got him as a deep long shot.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with my long shot's gonna be Robbie Ray. I like Robbie Ray. He's got the strikeouts down pat. I mean, the guy blows people away. He's great with that. Of course, his propensity to give up the long ball and also walks is his problem. But with Ray, I think if he can keep those down a little bit in a shortened season, don't forget, too, this is his free agent year. His contract's up after this year. Mm-hmm. So he's got something to play for. And I think with the K's and everything like that, I think if he can limit those home runs in Arizona and even Colorado and shut down the Dodgers here and there and keep the ball over the plate, I think he can. I think he's a dark horse because he can get the strikeouts.
Yeah.
He could pitch 12 games, throw 70 innings, and have 100 Ks. I mean, how many guys this year do you think are going to have 100 Ks? Think about it. 12 starts. That's a lot. That's a lot. So he's definitely one that could do that. And if I think everything falls right, he keeps his ERA down, and like I said, the walks and the home runs, he could strike out 100 and lead the league.
Yeah.
I could see it. So I'd say he's my dark horse.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that because we'll get to this in a little while, but he's actually my breakout pitcher for me. So
sorry to steal your thunder there.
That's all right. Kind of goes hand in hand. Let's see, rookie of the year. Let's move into. I don't know if Johnny, you want to start off with this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Gavin Lux in LA. He's still rookie eligible. I just think the kid's got so much talent there, and he's got a great lineup around him, and he's got such a good team and everything like that. I think he just fits in perfectly with the way the Dodgers have been doing things the past few years bringing up guys like Bellinger, Max Muncy, stuff like that. And I think Luck's, and of course the Dodgers always had luck, with rookies of the year. They had five in a row back in the 90s. And I think Lux is going to be the next one.
Yeah,
I think he's got the talent, no doubt. And like I said, like just coming up through the organization, having the guys there that have done this, younger guys like Bellinger and Muncy that have been there a few years, and even the older guys like Justin Turner and stuff like that, they can work with him and everything. I think he's poised for superstardom, and I think he'll put it together this year.
Yeah, can't argue with that one. I'm actually going to go a little different with Carter. Mine's going to be Carter Keyboom from the Nationals. Now he's got a spot there now. He's going to be able to play third now that Rendon's gone. Last year he wasn't even able to get on the field because of that. So he spent most of the year in AAA. But over that time he hit .303 with 16 home runs and 79 RBIs in over 109 games. So I think now with the actual spot on the Nationals, he'll be able to get up there and start hitting very well. And in the middle of a lineup with guys like with Soto and Robles, I think he'll be able to do a lot of good things for them.
I'm gonna echo Johnny's sentiment here. I've got Gavin Lux as well. For all the same reasons, and I'll tack on the fact that probably. They're likely to bat him pretty far down in the order. And they would have done that even prior to having a universal DH. And now that they do, there's no concern about, well, if we bat him eighth, then he's going to have the pitcher behind him. So, he's just going to get a whole bunch of junk. And now there's more of an opportunity where somebody might be protecting him a little bit on the backside. Nevertheless, the fact that, also in that lineup, there's going to be guys on base. And, as Johnny said about the guys in the clubhouse and the guys that are able to help bring them along, we know the Dodgers are a good team, and we know they're going to win plenty of games. Or at least we think we are. Who knows how crazy? Who knows how crazy this season is about to be? But when you're winning and you got a young team like that and everybody's having fun, as a young player, it's way easier to relax and go up there and just remember all the stuff you usually do rather than putting too much pressure on yourself. So I'm on board that train as well.
Yeah, he's definitely the favorite for the National League. So.
I do like the Kaboom pick, though. I always like that kid, and I think he's kind of like a post-hype guy because he came up a little bit last year and didn't do too well.
Yeah.
And I think people got off him a little bit, and they forget how talented this kid is. You know what I mean? With the Nationals winning it last year and everything like that, I think people kind of forgot about him, almost like Robles.
Oh yeah, true.
I mean, because Robles was the up-and-coming star. I mean, he was banged up a little bit, and Soto came up, and Soto became this huge. And I'm not taking anything away from Juan Soto; the kid's great, but I'm just saying that he kind of took away from Robles. Robles was actually the higher-rated prospect. Yeah. You know what I mean? And Carter Kaboom, kind of the same thing. Like, he was a high-rated prospect, and he came up and didn't do so well. And then, of course, with Rendon there and everything, and he didn't really have any place to play. But I like that pick too, because I think Kaboom's one of those post-hype guys that everyone's starting to forget about. But I think he could definitely break out this year.
Plus, what a great baseball name! Come on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, his brother plays catcher too. Was Spencer Kaboom, right? I think his name is Spencer.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, he's a brother. He has a brother that's a catcher. I think it's Spencer, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that is a great name. I mean, the headlines write they write themselves at that point.
Yeah, it is Spencer.
Yeah, I think he's in a Nationals organization too, right?
He is. That's correct.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh, actually, he's not anymore. He's right now as a free agent.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was with the Nationals, though. Yeah, that would have been interesting to see if they were get playing time to get be on the same team. But
Well, I'll go ahead and start the rookie dark horses. If you guys got one, and send it back to you. For mine, I'm going with for my team. I'm going with Shogo Akiyama, who just came over from Japan to join the Reds organization. I know this is a day and age when, it's all about monster home runs and hitting the ball out of the park and everything. But Akiyama's made 5 straight All-Star games in Japan, and I know it's a different game, but made 5 straight All-Star games in Japan. Hasn't hit less than, I think, 315, including I think 2 years ago he hit like 339. And he's one of those guys that isn't going to hit probably more than 20 home runs, and even that might be, and not this year, I mean in a full season. And even that might be generous, although we got that short porch in right field. But he's really, really adept at finding the gaps in the outfield, and particularly on a short season like this, if they get him in that lineup every day, I could see him leading the league in doubles. So who you guys got?
Well, I'm gonna go with a kid. I actually had to double check because I know he came up last year, but he is still rookie eligible. I'm gonna go with Mauricio Dubon from San Fran. I think he's gonna be there. Probably start out at second because I believe they still have Brandon Crawford and they still have Evan Longoria at short and third. But they no longer have Joe Panic. He's gone now. Actually, I believe he's on the Nationals, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm gonna go with Dubon. They brought the kid up last year, played pretty well, but the kid's hitting talent. I really like his talent. I like the way he plays the game. He's an excellent fielder. He should be playing probably shortstop, and I think he will move over back to shortstop once Crawford's contract is done. I think it's after this year or next year. But Crawford's an excellent fielding shortstop, so he should stay there. But he's 32, 33 years old. Longoria is, getting older too. And Dubon will move over to the left side of the infield eventually. But for this year, he plays second, which is going to be an easy position for him because he's used to playing shortstop. He's going to be an excellent fielder at second. And I like the hitting talent there. And I think in a full season, granted it's San Francisco, tough pitchers park and blah, 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 blah. But I think he's going to turn some heads this year.
I like that pick, and you're right about the position, because even though it's a sprint, there are some teams that have no ideas about thinking that they're going to win the championship this year, and I think San Francisco is one of those teams, and I think they're going to take every chance they can to be evaluating talent. So I agree with you that Dubon will start out at second, but his versatility and his ability to play multiple positions is going to keep him in the lineup every day, so that he keeps getting looks and that he's ready going into 2021.
Yeah, San Fran's one of those teams one of the few teams actually in the National League that really, even with a short season, probably don't have a shot.
Yeah, it's not happening.
They're just not a good team. I mean, now with Posey out and everything, I mean, it's just not there.
Yeah. Well, my pick is actually going to be, I'm going to go with Mackenzie Gore from the Padres, the pitcher that's there. They got some question marks with their rotation. Lucchesi is kind of still, not fully. He hasn't proven anything yet. Really, he's hasn't been able to consistently pitch past the 5th inning, and he's got a 7.94 ERA in the 6th inning during his brief stints in the majors so far. So I think Gore may, even without injury, he may end up getting in there at some point early on in the year, and you never know what happens with COVID. If any of the Padres pitchers end up getting it, he can definitely slide in and pitch for them. He's yet to pitch above Double-A, but he was very, very dominant last year. He pitched 20, had 20 starts, and had a combined 1.69 ERA between high A and Double-A. So, yeah, I could definitely see him making some kind of impact at some point during the year for the Padres, and maybe even getting them into the playoffs as one of the wild cards.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
Yeah, Gore is he's just good. Yeah. He's just really good. He's probably the best rookie prospect pitcher that'll see action this year. I mean, as far as, any of the young guys, we talk about like Nate Pearson, Mackenzie Gore, like guys like that. Like he's definitely up there with like Jesus Luzardo, like all those guys. Gore might be the best out of all of them.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of if he sees enough time. As far as his, workload is not as much of a question now because it's a 60-game season, but depending on playing time as far as saving that extra year, they might keep him down for a week or so and stuff like that. But I mean, if he comes up and dominates like he has a chance to, yeah, I like that pick. Definitely. Especially with a shortened season, when you look at a team like the Padres, Tatis healthy, Machado bouncing back. I mean, if they can win some games in the beginning of the year, I mean, there's no doubt that Gore could be up.
Yeah. And
between Gore and Paddock, Strom, Garrett Richards comes back healthy. Like, I mean, they definitely could make the playoffs this year.
Oh, yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I really like Richards as like a kind of a breakout this year too.
Yeah, definitely. I always like Garrett Richards. Always had great stuff. It's just, it's like a lot of guys just could never stay healthy.
And if you're going to come up, if you're going to be a young kid and come up and cut your teeth, playing in San Diego is a pretty good place to be.
Oh, yeah.
As far as it being a pitcher's park and being pretty kind to the guy on the mound.
Definitely. To comeback player of the year, I'll start off, I mentioned earlier, with Manny Machado, just like we were talking about with Bryce Harper, going into his second year in San Diego. He'll be able to, be used to it, be used to the new city and everything. So I think he's going to put up a huge year this year. And like we just said, like, help the Padres get back to the playoffs, maybe, potentially. So I think obviously his defense is always really solid. He's one of the best defensive third basemen in the league, or not? Yeah, like. And then I also want to mention too that I guess a second comeback for the year candidate would be, as Johnny said before, with Didi Gregorius. I think last year he kind of struggled coming back from Tommy John surgery. And he's still a solid player. He was good for the Yankees when he was healthy, and I think he kind of needed more time to come back from the Tommy John surgery. But I think this year he'll be able to, in the middle of the lineup that the Phillies have with, of course, Bryce Harper, I think he'll be able to do some solid things there and get back to what he was before Tommy John.
I think for me, this was a hard one because it's tough to be tabbed as comeback player of the year in a game in a season that's only 60 games long.
Yeah.
Because you don't really know if you just caught a really hot streak or if genuinely it's something that you would have carried over 162 games. I really wanted to be a homer here and say Joey Votto. And I think that's possible, but I'm going to cheat a little bit and say that two of the closers that just got absolutely destroyed last year in Kimbrel and Edwin Diaz I think both come back in a big way, and it doesn't necessarily mean that I think they're going to save a million games, and that their teams are going to be division winners. Obviously, we'll get to that eventually. Um, but you got two guys that just didn't look anything like themselves last year, and obviously still have the stuff. They didn't just you know completely completely lose miles per hour off their fastball or completely lose any cut out of some of their breaking pitches. But Diaz, for instance, I think had like a 5.59 ERA last year, after he was like an all-world closer the year before. And Kimbrel was another one who just, I mean, every time he went out there, he got smacked around. But I like looking at the pitchers for this award because, like I said, with the hitter, I'm not sure if it's actually being done for 162 games, or if maybe they just catch a hot streak and they win it that way. But considering that, I think the most important thing to this season is going to be bullpen depth. I think you can throw the idea that your closer only comes in a safe situation out the window for 2020. Which is just going to afford guys like those two more opportunities to get on the field one way or the other, whether they're losing by 4 or up by 2 in the 8th or 9th inning. So I think they're going to get the volume so that if they actually do get back to where they were before, it's going to raise some eyebrows.
I like it. I like that. I would agree with that, definitely. I mean, it's not my picks, but I would agree with Kimbrel and Diaz. Diaz was the thing with Diaz last year. He just got hit. He just got hit.
The balls were flying out of the park.
But like you said, like his velo didn't go down at all or anything like that. Like he was just getting batted around. Like, I mean, and that's the thing with what I said before, like with the one start or whatever, that you can get blown up. I mean, if you're a closer, you come in and close a game and you get one out and you give up 4 runs, that blows your ERA for the next month.
For a long
now,
time.
if that happens 4 or 5 times during the year, you just you end up with a 4 or 5 ERA or whatever. I mean, I think Diaz definitely, and I think Kimbrel too. But I'm gonna go personally. I'm gonna go with a hitter, and I'm gonna go with Andrew McCutchen.
Nice.
Tore his ACL last year, after 59 games. And in those 59 games, he had an 834 OPS, hit 10 home runs, stole 2 bases. He was playing a solid outfield. Now he's in left field instead of center, where he should be. But I think this year he's going to come back healthy. He's going to have a really good year. Granted, like you said, it's only 60 games and he played 59 last year. But just coming back from the injury at his age, too, I think he's pushing 34. I think he's going to come back, make a major contribution at the top of that lineup for the Phillies. And I think coming back from the injury especially, I think he's going to win that award.
I like that pick a lot, especially because the potential that's in that Phillies lineup now.
And not only that, how can't you root for Kutch? I mean, the dude's great. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be like, you got to love Kutch.
Yeah, I always liked him.
He's got the personality that, like, he's one of those guys that, we talk about Major League Baseball, like marketing their players. He's definitely one of those guys that you should be marketing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they should have been for the past, 12 years.
He's one of those guys that always looks like he's having a great time out there.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
It was so weird the one, like, the half season that he was with the Yankees when he had to shave. It was like, what the heck? It didn't even look like the same guy. It was like,
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, it was like 2018 it was.
Yeah, and he was good with the Yankees, too,
Yeah.
when he played there. He's always been a great player, man. He's always been such a good player, such a great ambassador for the game. And like you said, like, you see these guys and they have fun. This is what it should be about. They should be touting these guys that just have fun playing baseball. You know what I mean? Like Joey Votto, like his antics with like fake tossing the ball to the fans and stuff like that. Like, I mean, these are the guys, they should be marketing that stuff. You know, and Kutch is one of those personalities that's just like, it's golden. It's golden.
All right, let's move on to the breakout hitter. I'll go with this first. Mine's going to be Austin Riley from the Braves. You know, last year he had, in his first 14 career games, he had 7 home runs, which is tied for the third most ever in that span. And he really turned it on in his first 35 games, slashing 288, 340, 604, 12 home runs, 39 RBIs, but then he kind of struggled afterwards. In his last 45, he only hit 163, 218, and 333. He also missed time at the end of the year because of a torn ligament in his right knee. So I think this year now, with the Braves, what they have in that lineup now, I think he's gonna really be able to turn it on more and go back to the player he was in those first 35 games and be a major piece to their team. He'll probably end up playing a lot at DH because of the way their team is made up right now. So I think he'll probably be there a lot, and also with maybe split time at DH with Ozuna, because Ozuna obviously is not the best defensive outfielder. So I think it'll mostly be him and Ozuna and Riley for the DH spot.
I like that pick too. Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
All right. I like that pick too because I kind of feel like the same thing what you said, Sam, actually, before with Gavin Lux coming into like the Dodgers, that you can kind of relax as a young player. You don't have to carry the team. You're not like a superstar, coming up and like you have to be the guy there or anything. I think Riley this year, especially with the addition of Puig and the addition of Ozuna and stuff like that, don't know how much time Riley's going to get. I would expect he starts at third base. I like Johan Camargo, but I think Camargo's more like a Marlon Gonzalez type. I think he's kind of like a utility guy, like super utility, Brock Holt type guy, and Riley's their future. And I like that pick. And I think Riley's in the same type of situation, like you were saying before, with Gavin Lux, where he's a young guy coming up. They have Ozuna, they have Puig, they have Freddie Freeman, they have Albies, who's been there for a few years, Swanson, who's been there for a few years. Like, they have guys there. He doesn't have to be the man. Yeah. Like, he's not the big power guy that has to come up and, like, try to blast home runs every time he's up. He can kind of relax, play third, bat 6th or 7th. You know what I mean? Like, it. So I get the mentality, and I like that pick. The guy I'm picking is Ahmed Rosario from the Mets. He's another guy. The way I look at him, like, he's improved also. And a lot of times what I look at too is you got to give guys a chance to come up. Either some of these guys come up, they do damage, and then they fall off, sophomore slump, whatever. Some of these guys are more linear as far as their improvement goes. And I think Rosario's been a little more linear. He doesn't have the greatest plate discipline, but it's getting a little better. And he's got the power speed combo. He got the athleticism. And I mean, 15 home runs, 19 stolen bases last year in a full season. And I think he can, I think in the, in that lineup, if he can get to the top of that lineup, especially, I know they batted him second sometimes last year. They batted him down at the bottom. They kind of mixed him around. All depends on health with Nimmo and Conforto and all these guys. But if he can get kind of in the middle of that lineup, I really think he's got the talent. He's got the power. Like I said, he's got the power speed combo. He's got the athleticism. I think he's more comfortable at shortstop now. He wasn't a great defender when he came up, but he's made himself better. And what I look at too, he's got almost 1,500 plate appearances in the major leagues. And I think that's where you start to see improvement. Kind of the same thing with pitching. What I was saying about Luis Castillo, I noticed he has about 1,800 batters faced. So I kind of look at that when I'm looking at like up and coming players. and who might break out or who might start hitting their prime, I look at 1,500 to 2,000, either batters faced by pitchers or plate appearances by hitters. And that's why I said Castillo for Cy Young, and that's why I'm saying Amed Rosario, because they're kind of in the same place that way. They're both showing kind of linear improvement. And I really think I think Rosario, he's got the talent, there's no doubt. He's got the athleticism. So I would pick him for my breakout this year.
I like that pick, and I also think it's notable that you mentioned that he's getting more comfortable in the field, and I think a lot of people miss that that's actually part of the maturation process, even at the plate for players. Because if you're constantly thinking about what you're doing in the field, or you booted a ball, or you think you could have got one, then all of a sudden you're stuck on that, and next thing you know, you're trying too hard when you step up to the plate. So I think his comfort level in the field is probably going to help him out a lot. For me personally, I've got I'm going to stay on the same team as Alex here, and say Dansby Swanson for the Braves. Last year he played about, I don't know, 3/4 of the season. OPS only around 750. He hit 17 dongs, 65 ribbies. Translate that to the full season, and obviously his numbers are a little more impressive. The biggest concern is strikeouts with him. He strikes out a lot. But when the guy makes contact, he makes really hard contact. And he's I think I saw something like he's in the 92nd percentile of players as far as most of his contact being either line drives or fly balls. And as we all know in this day and age, fly balls, it means you got a chance to get over the wall, and that's what people are looking for. So, I'm excited to see what he can do, and actually, Johnny, when you responded to Alex's pick, you did a lot of the talking for me, because I was going to bring up, again, all the guys in that lineup in Atlanta where you don't feel like you have to do it. You can ease back a little bit, not have to try so hard, when you've got all those other big hitters on the team. You can relax a little bit and take your time, and as long as he can cut down on those strikeouts, then I think he could get some really good power numbers out of a 60-game season.
Yeah, I like that pick too. I can definitely see that.
Yeah, because when Swanson was back on Arizona, I mean, he was the first pick overall. And he was expected to be kind of the man there. And then when they traded him for Shelby Miller, I mean, they traded him for Shelby. They traded him and Ender Inciarte.
Yeah,
for Shelby Miller. But when he went to Atlanta too, when he got to Atlanta, there was no Ozzie Albies, there was no Ronald Acuna. So, I mean, he, like you said before, keep pressing this point, is like pushing yourself to be, look, I was a number one pick. I got to be the man. I'm taking over for Andrelton Simmons. I'm taking, like all this stuff. Granted, Andrelton Simmons isn't God or anything, but I mean, he's probably the best shortstop defensive wise.
Yeah.
Probably wound up being the best ever. But, I mean, now what you're saying is like Swanson doesn't have to be that guy anymore.
He doesn't have to press.
So you're right. So he's finally coming into his own, and his progression also has been linear. He's gotten better and better every year, and I think he's more and more comfortable.
That's stripped into the pitcher, the breakout pitcher, and like I said before, mine is Robbie Ray. As Johnny kind of said everything about him before when he was talking about dark horse Cy Young. If he gets his home run, he doesn't allow as many home runs. I think we'll be able to get a little better. Obviously, as Johnny said, it strikes out a lot of guys. He can definitely be in the top of the leaderboard for strikeouts this season. And I think in a short season, he'll be able to turn it on and go and be one of the best breakouts for the season.
Yeah, I like Ray a lot, and like Johnny said earlier, he can certainly strike out plenty of guys too. And he could end up having a really nice Caper 9 by the end of a 60-game season.
Yeah.
For me, I've got I'm going back, Alex, to your dark horse for I guess it was Rookie of the Year, and I'm going with Mackenzie Gore from the Padres. And like we discussed, we're not sure, if he's going to get the starts that he would need, need to, potentially get a Rookie of the Year. But I think he'll get enough that I can qualify him here for breakout pitcher. I think he's gonna be on the team pretty quick if he's not right when they come out. Just because of the roster size and because pitching depth is so important. I don't necessarily know if he's going to, if he'll start immediately. They might put him in a long relief role and stretch him out. But, given the whole, 60 games in 66 days, there's bound to be something to happen to a pitcher on just about every team, whether it's just general fatigue or injuries. So, I think it's going to depend on Gore's ability then to possibly step into a role when someone is hurt, or whether they go on the DL or they just need to miss a couple starts, and then to keep himself there by pitching well. And the guy had in the minors had 135 strikeouts in 100 innings. That's not too shabby. Even though he was, I think, didn't you say, Alex, it was low A and double A?
Yeah, it was low. I think actually high A. It was high A and then double A.
Okay. Yeah, and so obviously not major league talent by any stretch of the imagination, but he clearly has some stuff going on. So if he can work his way into the rotation reasonably early in the 60 games, and pitch well enough that they can't justify getting him out of there, then I think he's absolutely a breakout pitcher candidate.
I'm gonna go back to the Phillies, and I'm gonna go with Spencer Howard. Hasn't made his major league debut yet, but they're talking about this kid. They were talking about him coming up anyway as the fourth or fifth starter for the team. And I think that he's going to be there. He may face the same kind of situation as a lot of these young guys, that they may hold him off a week, like Gore or Pearson or guys like that, just to get that extra year of service time. But the kid throws 99, 100 miles an hour. He's got an excellent changeup, a solid curveball. He knows how to pitch. I really think the Phillies are going to be a good team. We talk about run support and everything, and if all my predictions are correct, as far as Harper winning the MVP and McCutchen doing the comeback player of the year, I think they'll have plenty of run support. You don't forget Real Muto's on a contract year. They still have Hoskins, guys like that, Didi at short, stuff. And I think if Howard gets in there for the 10 starts or whatever it may be, I think he could definitely be the breakout guy this year. Possibly Rookie of the Year. I mean, because I think this kid's really got great stuff.
Yeah.
Probably not as good as Gore, but like we said, a 10-start sample size is, you'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. But I would say Spencer Howard is my man this year.
Yeah, I actually had him. I actually had him jotted down as a possibility for my Rookie of the Year too. And the only thing that scared me off, and at the same time this could be a good thing, if he has a good season, in this shortened season, and he's pitching against the NL East and the AL East, and comes out of it above average, then that's a rousing success.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be facing an awful lot of bats in those two divisions. So I think that's a great pick. Like I said, he was on my Rookie of the Year shortlist.
Yeah, he's going to be facing some tough competition, no doubt. You know, because the East on both sides, that's going to be rough. But they believe in him, and I mean, honestly, after Nola and Wheeler, you know, the Phillies done Arrieta on his last legs. You know, I mean, I think Howard's going to be there, and I think he's got the stuff to be able to put together a solid short season at this point.
He's got a good pitching staff to learn from too. I mean, there's an awful lot of knowledge there in Philadelphia for him to pick up from.
Yeah, especially now with Joe Girardi as the manager. He works with pitchers really well. So.
Yeah, I think Brian Price is their pitching coach. While someone that Sam knows well from his managing days at Cincinnati.
I'd rather forget.
Yeah, well, he may not be the best manager, but he's a pretty good pitching coach.
Yeah,
some guys just need a certain job.
I agree with that.
We see it all the time in football too. I mean, some guys who are they're great defensive coaches or coordinators or great offensive coordinators, but they stink as a head coach.
Right.
I mean, you know, guys like North Turner, guys like, you know, the old head coach from Jim Haslett. I think he's a damn good defensive coordinator, but he was a horrible head coach with the Saints. I mean, you know, guys, we see the same, and the same thing with baseball. Some guys know pitching, some guys know hitting. Sometimes you're just not a good manager of players.
Right.
Yeah.
Bill Callahan's another good one for the NFL.
Yeah, there you go.
And then there's Bill O'Brien, who shouldn't be a GM.
There you go.
Well, yeah, Belichick's tree too. I mean, Charlie Weiss, Josh McDaniel, you know, guys like that, like, you know, probably shouldn't have been head coaches, but you know, Romeo Crennel, defensive coordinator.
They're all
fine,
really good at what they do, but then as far as head coaches, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And like I said, the same thing could be said for baseball. Some guys are great hitting coaches. Some guys are great pitching coaches. I mean, look what the Mets went through last year. Mm-hmm. You know, they brought over Mickey Callaway, who was the pitching coach for the Indians. Kluber and Clevenger and Bauer and Bieber and all these guys. And it's like, all right, we're bringing him Mickey Callaway. He's going to work magic and everything like that. And where is he now? You know what I mean? Like, so you just never know. You just never know.
Let's shift to the playoff predictions. I'll start off with, I'm going to go with the Braves to win the East. And then the Central, I'm going to make Sam happy. I'm going to say the Reds win the Central. And then the Dodgers, of course, winning the West. They're probably going to maybe not really run away with it. I think the Diamondbacks can make it close there, but they're win by a pretty fair margin. And then I have, for the wild cards, I have the Phillies and D-backs. So then I'll also talk about my surprise and disappointment. Of course, the surprise is the Reds winning the Central, as they, of course, didn't make the playoffs last year. And then the Nationals, defending championships, I have missing the playoffs. So it's going to be tough for that NL East division. It's going to be, anybody can win it. There's any of the top four teams. You know, Marlins probably don't have any shot, but even in a 60-game season, you never know. Maybe they do. Maybe they definitely have a better shot than they would in a normal season. So.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add to that, because I also have my Reds winning the Central. I've got the Braves in the East. And the Dodgers, I do have running away with it out west. And my 2 wild cards, also the Phillies. And I'm going to take the San Diego Padres. And so go ahead and obviously say the San Diego Padres are my surprise team. I think, if you talk about Tatis and Machado both doing what they're able, that alone gives them a leg up on a couple other teams. And pitching in that ballpark makes even the most average pitchers look pretty good. And I can't even tell you exactly why, but I don't buy Arizona as much as everybody else is this year. I don't know. It's a gut feeling. I don't. It doesn't feel sexy to me when I look up and down their lineup. And the pitching staff is good, but I just don't get. I don't get excited about it, and I want to have a little bit of fun with it as well. So. But yeah, so I'm pretty much uniform with you, and the Padres in there.
All right, I'm gonna go a little different than you guys. I'm gonna go with Phillies winning the East. I'm gonna go with the Cubs winning the Central. I'll stick with the Dodgers in the West. As far as wild cards go, I'm going to go the Reds and the Diamondbacks. I like the Diamondbacks starting pitching.
Yeah.
I know Mad Bum is kind of, going to a hitter's park and stuff like that, blah blah blah. But I still like Ray. I still like Galen. I still like the guys there, and I think they have a solid team. So my surprise is probably going to be the Cardinals missing the playoffs, or the Nationals. You can pick one or the other, but I just don't see the Cardinals being that great. And the Nationals, I think, I like the Nationals, but I think they're just gonna miss out. As far as the surprise goes, I think it's probably the Phillies.
Yeah.
I think the Phillies are going to have the second best record in the NL after the Dodgers. And as far as the Cubs go, I think they can win the division. I think Ian Happ's going to have a good year. I think Schwarber is going to really come on. Brian will be healthy. Rizzo, and I think that in a shortened season, especially an older John Lester.
Yeah.
And someone like Kyle Hendricks, if Darvish can do what he did in the second half of last year, as opposed to the first, they got a real solid top 3. So that's why I like the Cubs in the Central.
Yeah.
But
yeah, just like I said with the East, the Central has 4 teams that can win it easily. Besides, Pirates are the only team that don't have really much of a shot.
Yeah. Well, surprise too. I guess the disappointment would be I don't have the Braves making the playoffs.
Oh yeah.
Because I think the wild cards are going to be the Reds and the Diamondbacks. I just don't. The Braves. I love what the Braves did signing Puig. I think it's a great fit, and everything like that. I don't trust their starting rotation. And I know you talked about Max Fried before, and I like Fried. I like Soroka. Even Fultonavich, if he can make it back. Even Newcomb, if he's the 5th starter, or he can be in the bullpen, or maybe piggyback on somebody. Some of the guys coming up, Ian Anderson, Kyle Wright. I mean, Cole Hamels, they signed him to be a veteran presence, and he's got a tricep injury now. He might not start. I just don't know. With their starting pitching, as good as their lineup may be, I just don't know about their starting pitching, especially compared to the rest of that division. And especially when you're talking about them facing the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, like lineups like that in the AL East. I just don't see the Braves making it. I just don't.
Yeah, I can't really argue that because I mean, like I said, any of those teams can win it, so it's pretty kind of it's a lot easier for teams to miss the playoffs in those divisions.
It's just in the season that's designed like this, it's going to come down to we don't really know. My philosophy, which I think is the same thing that a lot of people have, is the more pitchers that you have that can go deep, and the more relief experience and guys that can pitch 3 days, 4 days in a row, the better shot you have of having success in the season. But it's not a given yet. And for all we know, this just might turn out to be a complete mash fest for 2 months. And I think that's the only reason I penciled in the Braves, is because if the guys that you mentioned in their rotation, if they, if 3 of them are only average and 2 of them do well, with a lineup with, Ozuna, Acuna, Albies, Freeman, Puig, Swanson, they're going to hit a lot. So I think if it does turn out to be kind of a mash fest and it turns out that the hitting is overpowering the pitching, it's hard to look past them. But we don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue that totally either. I mean, like we said, like with the shortened season, none of us really know. But I just think that, especially when you have a couple aces, and I just don't see the Braves bullpen as being really that deep. I mean, I know they have Melanson and stuff, but I don't know. I just don't see them comparing, because good pitching will still beat good hitting. And when you're facing Scherzer, Nola, DeGrom, and you're putting up Soraka and Fried, I just don't know.
Right.
And then you got to go to the American League East, and you're facing Cole, Paxton, Tanaka. I don't know. I just don't see it. But I mean, like we said, who knows in the 60-game season?
Yeah,
anyone can get hot.
It's just so hard to know what's. I mean, you're absolutely right. Good pitching is always going to be good hitting. But it's just it's so hard to tell right now exactly how this is going to play out. You know what I mean? Or if the pitchers, no matter how good they are going to get fatigued a lot more quickly than they have in the past. Even though you got some that are saying they want to pitch every 4th day, and their managers are like, whoa, pump the brakes here, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not only that, too, you got to remember something, and this is going to be interesting to see, too. See, in the beginning of the year, usually, it's cold in a lot of places. I mean, you go to Minnesota, you go to Detroit, it's cold in March and April.
Yeah.
Now we're starting the season, it's hot out already. So do the players that play well in hot weather, there are always some hitters or some pitchers that don't do well in the very beginning of the year because it's colder out. Now, is it because it was colder out, or is it because it takes them a couple starts, or it takes them a week or 2 to get going? We're going to see that too, because this is a completely different thing. We're starting the season in hot weather. So
Right.
You're going, I mean, the Texas Rangers their home opener is 95 degrees. You know what I mean? Where in a normal season, maybe they were in Boston in 40-degree weather. Who knows then? We don't know yet.
It's interesting because you're gonna start the season, just a little after the time that we say every year. Well, around now is when the ball starts really jumping off the bat.
Right.
Yeah.
And the interesting is, too, like what I said about the Cubs, you take someone like John Lester, who's 36, 37 years old. I think a lot of the veteran pitchers are going to have a lot more success in the beginning of the season.
I agree.
Because they know them. They know their own arm. They know what they need to do. They're in this routine. They know what works for them. They've known it for 14 years. You know what I mean? Or whatever. Just using Lester as an example.
Yeah.
Just someone who's been consistently good. Greinke, you can use Greinke as an example too. Like a veteran pitcher, Verlander, stuff like that. These younger guys who've only been in the major leagues for a couple of years, without the spring training, they've been used to spring training, say, the past 2-3 years. Now it's not there anymore. Now it's been a completely different thing. They started and then they stopped for a few months. Now it's starting up again. How is that going to affect their routine? Because we all know pitchers are very, especially starters, very routine. Their 5-day routine. They pitch bullpens in between. They do this. They do that. They eat certain things. Very superstitious that way, kind of, So I'm interested to see. We talked about the human element before, about switching teams and stuff like that, getting big contracts, blah, blah, blah. Machado, Harper. I wonder how this kind of routine is going to affect certain players. That's why I feel like the veterans who have been on the same team for a few years, you guys who have been in the league for, say, 5, 6, 7 years, even more, I think are going to have an easier time with this whole thing. And I think they're not going to wear out toward the end of the year because it's only a 60-game season. Whereas if they started in April, by August, when it gets hot out, they've already pitched 25 games. They've already had 450 plate appearances. They've already, you know what I mean? So these guys aren't going to wear out either. So guys like, like I said, Greinke, Lester, Verlander, even hitters like, I don't know, Ryan Braun, like guys like that, Jay Bruce, like, older players who have been around for a while, I think they're going to succeed more this year than some of these younger guys. That's why I think, like, as far as if you want to touch on even fantasy baseball, I think some of these older guys definitely might want to take a look at and bump them up your boards a little bit. Because I think it's the shortened season is going to have a bigger effect than we think on these older players.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That's definitely a solid point to make. Yeah, it's like you said, like during a normal season, the play like these kind of older players start breaking down at the end of the season. But now this year, it's it's not a marathon; it's a sprint. So they're going to be able to just play as they normally would and do it for the whole time, whole 60 games.
Well, let's just hope we make it 60 games.
Yeah.
Not to be the Debbie Downer in the room.
Too late. Yeah, let's hope we make it through. I mean, and not only that too. Let's see who else opts out. Still got another week to go, and we don't know who's going to get it and who's going to opt out. I mean, there was talk about Trout, talk about Zach Wheeler, Garrett Cole. Like, there have been rumors about like some of these high-profile guys like opting out and stuff like that. So we don't know.
Yeah, I think there's still guys right now that are, we're a week out, and there are still guys right now that are thinking that in the next couple of days, or maybe by this weekend, they need to have a little sit down with the wife and kids and figure out if they should do this or not.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I can imagine like these guys that got families and everything, and sitting down, like you said, sitting down and be like, all right, Sunday night dinner or whatever, be like, all right, it's the last chance. So I want to give my team enough at least a few days notice if this is going to be, kind of like you do at weddings. If anyone has anything to say,
right.
Speak now or forever hold your peace. You know what I mean? Like the ultimatum kind of thing.
Never mind the fact that when you're playing at home, you're still going back to your home. So this it still affects your family as well, because you need to tell them, well, listen, you can't be going out and doing this and then being around me, because if I show up and I got something because little Johnny went to a birthday party yesterday with a bunch of adults and had the virus and didn't know it, and next thing you know, I got half my team sick because in the 1 hour it took to get the results back.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you saw that whole thing with. Yeah, you saw the whole thing with Carlos Correa telling his girlfriend or his wife
that
like
was
not go to the. Yeah.
It was the hairdresser, wasn't it? Isn't that what it was? Or
yeah,
salon?
don't go to the salon. Yeah, yeah.
I can't believe they actually had that as like a big article. Like,
yeah, it's been a slow news summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, like
I don't know.
the whole players opting out. Like, I think the Braves wouldn't even ended up with Puig if it wasn't for Markakis opting out. That was pretty much the reason they ended up going after him in the first place, because they needed an extra guy there.
Yeah, and there'll probably be some more of that, and there might also be some, minor league guys that you did not expect to all of a sudden pop up on the active roster. That might and it might be some guys you were excited to see, and it might be some guys you're like, who is this guy? I got
to like look down
go combing through my notes to find out where he just came from.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it's gonna be some 21-year-old out of like a JUCO in like New Mexico that like all of a sudden comes up and it's like tears it up.
Hey, does anybody know who that bullpen catcher that just came up for the Reds is, or that catcher that just came up for the Reds? Yeah, he's the bullpen catcher in Double-A. We didn't have anybody else who was ready.
Oh man, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. We're gonna see. Well, we've seen that in the past couple of years. Some guy, and then that's the thing. This year, you might see it being more prevalent, but we've seen that in the past couple of years. With certain guys that just come up and like all of a sudden they tear it up.
Yeah, they break.
I mean, speaking of Puig, who saw that coming? You remember when he came up? Didn't he hit like 390 for the first month he was up?
Oh, he was a monster.
Yeah, he was crazy.
I remember what's his name from? I think he was on the Cardinals at the time. Hazelbaker. Remember Jeremy Hazelbaker? The outfielder dude came up and like tore the cover off the ball for like a month or two. Yeah, he's back out of baseball again. But I mean, like you never know with some of these guys. Even back in the day, Alex, you might remember this guy. Remember Shane Spencer?
Yeah.
What did he hit? Like he came up in September, hit like 12 home runs in the month of September. Like, where the hell did this guy come from? You know what I mean? Like, there's always like that guy that is like, he's been a career minor leaguer. He's 27. He comes up and just like dominates for a month.
Yeah, he's 27 and he was drafted out of high school.
Yeah, drafted out of high school. Or he was drafted 48th
the minors for 9 years.
Yeah, like, who is this guy?
It's like that. Who's the guy for the D-backs? He's just like stashing the minors because of freaking, and he has a big contract. What the hell is his name?
Tomas.
Oh yeah,
Yasmani Tomas.
Yeah. I think this is last year of his contract, actually.
Yeah, this should be the year that he actually comes up. Plays.
Hey, DH.
Yeah.
Right. That was the whole point with him. Like he could hit, but he was just an absolute disaster in the field, no matter where they put him.
And he can hit the ball a country mile too.
Yeah, kills the ball. I mean, look at where's Rusney Castillo? Remember him from the Red Sox?
Mm-hmm.
Where is he? Whatever happened to him? I know the Sox are still paying him. I think this year is his last year too. But same thing. It's like they sign these guys, and the hell? How happens to them?
I think we're going to see plenty of that this year. It's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, all right.
Imagine if, like, Jason Dominguez makes his debut for the Yankees. Because, literally every outfielder gets hurt. They're like, oh, shit, we gotta put up the 17-year-old kid.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me with the Yankees because your outfielders are always hurt.
Yeah.
It's funny because the oldest guy in your roster is Brett Gardner, and he's the only one that stays healthy.
Oh yeah, and he was like one guy who didn't get hurt last year at all.
I mean, you get Hicks, Judge, and Stanton. None of them can stay healthy. And Brett Gardner's like 98 years old, and he's still he's the only one that
he's dragging around his oxygen tank behind him.
Still banging on the dugout, dugout ceiling. Like he's an angry old man.
Oh yeah, I know.
But yeah, Jason. Well, on the flip side, Jason Dominguez is what, 16?
Yeah, 17. I think he
17
turned
now.
3 months ago. So.
Kid looks like he's 25 already.
Yeah, I mean, he's supposed to be the next Mickey Mantle. I mean,
yeah. Well, you know how many people they've said that about? We'll see.
I just hate how they hype him up so much. Like even if he turns out to be like decent, like having him like comp to Mickey Mantle is just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's just insane. You don't. I'm sorry, but you don't comp people to. I see. They've been showing a lot of videos of Jared Kalenic from Seattle. You know, the guy the Mets traded for Edwin Diaz. He's showing him and stuff, and the kid's great. I think the kid's going to be a stud, no doubt. But people are comparing him to Griffey. They're comparing him to Trout already and stuff like that. It's like, dude, calm down. Yeah. Let's calm down a minute. You know.
Jesus.
Let the guy make the majors first. Like, you know, come on now. I've heard it so many times over the years. I'm sure you have too, Sam. Like over the past 30, 40 years, like every guy. I remember Cesar Cedeno for the Houston Astros coming up, and they were comparing him to Mantle.
Yeah, and you know what? The worst part about that isn't just that it's ridiculous, but it's horrible for the kid too.
Right, exactly.
And even the kid knows that it's unrealistic. I can't believe they just compared me to Mickey Mantle, but he knows that means that somebody thinks you're supposed to be really fucking good.
Yeah, it's silly.
Yeah,
it's silly. You know, but of course, people will do that. People will do that in every sport. You know, compare with the next quarterback. Oh, this is the next Joe Montana. And, you know, in 20 years, we're going to be talking about, this is the next Peyton Manning, the next Tom Brady, the next Drew Brees. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just stop already.
Yeah.
You know, I get it. I get the talents there. I understand that. But let's not, like you said, Sam, let's not put that on a kid.
Right. It's unfair.
Because it goes back to what we were saying before. Whitlocks and guys like that. Like, they get to come up to the majors and relax. Is anyone comparing Lux to, you know, I don't know, whoever? Like, I mean, you know, relax a little bit. Let the guy play.
That was
see what he can do. And, you know,
that was like there was like Astros fans that had like a video of what the hell is Forrest Whitley. He was like, "Who does this remind you of?"
Oh, I saw that.
We were saying Cole. He looks like Cole. I was like, Jesus, he didn't even pitch in the majors yet. Like, slow down.
You know what was funny? I was gonna comment too, and I didn't. I saw that thing on Twitter about Forrest Whitley, and you know who he reminded me immediately? It wasn't Garrett Cole. It was Clay Buchholz.
Oh, yeah, that's what I thought of too. Yeah.
He kind of reminded me of Clay Buchholz.
Yeah.
Garrett Cole, I think, Garrett Cole's a little stockier.
Yeah.
Whitley's like a string bean. Kind of like Buchholz. Buchholz is like 6'5", 180. Like the guy's like, you know, he's skinny as hell. But yeah, same thing. It's like, stop it already. Just because the guy has the same hair and kind of looks like him, I mean, what's that?
Player comps in all sports is like my least favorite thing in the world.
I mean, I think the kid's going to be a stud, but he's not going to be a Garrett Cole.
And that's the thing too. Even doing, you know, Alex, even going through the draft profiles and everything. I mean, we talked up all these guys who were supposed to be top 15, top 20 players. I mean, they all look great. They all look like they're going to be the next Mickey Mantle, the next Mike Trout, the next whatever. Of course they do now. But how many of them will actually be that? Mickey Mantle only comes around once a generation. So does Trout. So does, out of the top 20 guys that were drafted this year, half of them make the major leagues. Maybe 15 of them make the
Right.
major leagues at all. And maybe one of them is really good. I mean, and the rest of them just have decent careers and or whatever. Like, happens every year. Happens every year. It happens every year in football too. You see the first round. Oh, he televised the first round, and his first pick, second pick, third pick, with all these guys. And how many times do we look 3 years? You look 3 years later, and it's like, well, this guy was a bust. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
happens all the time. Happens all the time. You have all the talent in the world, but you need to maintain that. You need to be able to translate that to the next level.
It's like with Florial for the Yankees. He was like so hyped up, and now he's like, I think it looks like he's turned into kind of a bust at this point.
I never liked Florial. I am
Yeah.
on record as saying that.
Yeah.
I never liked Florio. I don't like his swing. He's got athletic talent, but other than that, he's a left-handed Byron Buxton
Yeah.
that strikes out more. He just, to me, he was never going to be anything. I could be wrong. I mean, maybe he's a late bloomer or whatever, but I see Florio, if he makes the major leagues, maybe he's a Chris Gomez. Has a couple good years, can steal some bases, play a good center field.
Yeah.
But he's never going to be a really good hitter.
No.
I just don't see him as being anything special. But yeah, you're right. They touted him like past 2 years. He was like prize prospect.
Yeah, he was their number one prospect. Now he's down to like not even the top 10. I don't think.
Yeah, he's never going to be anything. I don't know.
That's why I wish they would have like just traded him. Like when he was so hyped up, they should have just traded him.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they still could trade him and get something, but not as much as they would have.
At this point, he'd be a package.
Yeah.
See, 2 years ago, he could have been like a centerpiece.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. A lot of these organizations hold on to their prospects. They value their prospects way more than they should be.
Yeah. That's like another one with the Yankees is Chance Adams. He was such a big prospect too, and then he gets to the Yankees and he just like whatever. I don't know. I don't even know where he. Yeah. I think they traded him to the Royals now, or not traded him. I think he was DFA'd and then he went to the Royals.
Yeah. Yeah, every team does it, and I think valuing your prospects too much. I mean, I get you have your blue chip guys, but some of these guys, you have to be more realistic. And I think they look at some of these top prospects like a Florial, or even the Twins. Same thing with Nick Gordon.
Yeah,
I don't know what they ever saw in him, but he was like 5th in the organization like 2 years ago, and he's never going to be anything. If he makes the major leagues, he's a utility guy. The same thing. Could have traded him a couple of years ago for a lot more. Now it's like, well, not going anywhere. He's blocked.
Yeah.
We have Polanco at short, who we just signed to a 5-year deal. Arias, who just came up last year, so we have him locked up under control for the next 5 years. Where's Gordon playing? Gordon's not going anywhere.
I don't know.
Again, he'll be a package. He'll be thrown in a package that someone needs, like a utility guy. That's it. And that's what happens to these guys.
Yeah.
He'll go there. He'll play sparingly in the major leagues, and that's about it. Crazy if you ever get a chance, if you go back on like the drafts, like just go back to like 5-6 years ago, and see some of these names that were drafted in the first round, the major league draft. It's like, who the hell is this guy? Just never. That's it. It's like, wow, someone actually saw something in this guy and drafted him like 5th overall.
Yeah.
And you're like, who the hell is this guy? Because he never made the majors. That's the weird thing about
They're
baseball,
not even in the
too.
minors anymore either. They just bailed out.
Yeah.
Oh
They
yeah, that
just
was like the. I think it was what the 2014 draft. It was the Astros that had the top pick, and it was I forget his name, but he's not even in their system anymore. He's like just out of baseball. He was the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, I think it was Mark Apple.
Oh yeah, that was who it was. Yeah.
Yep, Mark Apple. Yeah, he was with Houston, and he actually got traded to the Phillies.
Yeah.
With Velasquez, Vince Velasquez.
Oh yeah.
Got traded to the Phillies with Vince Velasquez. I forget who the hell did they trade for? I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but yeah, he just never turned out to be anything.
Let's see. Oh, it was for Ken Giles.
Oh yeah, that's right. Giles, that's right. I forgot he was on Philly back then. That's right. Okay. Yeah, there's another guy, Vince Velasquez. Kid was supposed to be like, great arm, blah, blah, blah. Dude's got to be in the bullpen. Okay, he's not a starter.
Yeah, traded. It was also Brett Oberholzer was in the trade.
Oberholzer, yeah. Lefty. Yeah.
He's a star.
Yeah. I remember that. Well, you can't really forget the name, but it's a pretty unique name. But yeah, he was just a lefty starter. Tried to make it as a reliever. He just wasn't good.
Yeah.
But you got guys like, if you look at the Seattle Mariners, they made some bad picks, man. I mean, I remember looking back, I think 2 years in a row, they had the second or third pick in a row. They had drafted Dustin Ackley and Danny Hultzen. And this was only like 5-6 years ago. Remember Dustin Ackley? He was on the Yankees, actually.
Oh yeah, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah, kid was like the second pick overall.
Yeah.
Supposed to be like this stud. And the Danny Hultzen, left-handed pitcher, just nothing. Like, just, I don't know. Sometimes these guys just, they have an injury or they're not doing well in the minors, and a lot of these guys just quit. They're like, look, I tried it for a few years. I'm still 24 years old, or I'm 22 years old. I just got to, I was drafted out of high school. I've been playing the minor leagues for 3-4 years. If I'm not making the majors, then what the hell am I doing?
I'm kind of tired of being on a bus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they wound up going back to college or something or whatever, and they're like, screw this. I'm done.
Selling used cars.
Yeah. That's for the retired guys.
All right, fine. Selling new cars.
So that's it.
Good times.
That's all National League predictions, and then the season's a week away. So once we get to the season, we'll be have some more stuff to talk about. So once it gets rolling, we'll see what we can come up with for new episodes. Try to do weekly once the season gets underway. So next week, sometime during the week after the opening series, we can do another one. Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter as forgot to mention this at the beginning. You find me on Twitter at Alex Kielar, and then they mentioned theirs at the beginning. Of course, soon we'll be moving over to the Primetime Sports Talk. So, yeah, I think you said by next week, Johnny, right, for that?
Yeah, it should be by this weekend.
By this weekend, yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully by Monday. we're gonna be start writing and putting the podcast up on their site and everything. Get everything together.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. Move over to that site and have a bunch of other writers to be working with. So yeah, we're gonna keep growing and keep going with this podcast, and a bunch of articles once the season's underway. We'll be doing some recaps, maybe weekly recaps for the season, for each division. So yeah, so it should be interesting. So yeah, just a reminder, you can never have too much pod tar.